during those films. Our next presenter is a member of our community here in Austin. She's going to do a musical performance for you all. Her name is Dr. Tequina Airu Maynard. She is Taino lineal descendant from Boruquén, Puerto Rico, and she is the executive founder and artistic director of the Puerto Rican Cultural Center, which is pretty close to here, just down the street in East Austin. So please help me welcome Tequina.
I'll only play if he sings with me. I want to start by saying Samihinka Panama, which in Taino means blessings from the Creator to all of you. I send you blessings from my ancestors because they understand what it means to love nature and the sea. Our people for thousands of years lived in the Caribbean, from Puerto Rico all through the Greater Antilles up to Florida. We too were sea people, and we dug canoes and we visited each other, and we enjoyed people coming to our island. We are a people who love music and dancing. And whenever there was a visitor, you know there was an aito. This is a song called Tairiken, which means welcome. And if you have maracas, who has maracas? Anybody put their maracas? Awesome. And if you just want to clap along, you're welcome to do that, because this is a togetherness thing. We're going to all together put our energy into these beautiful people going on to Florida. Okay, so here's the rhythm. Awesome! Tairiken. Awesome! You guys are fast learners. Tekiti, Yamoka, Yamoku, 1, 2, 3 in Taino. My ancestors send you blessings because we understand what it means to protect your waters, to protect your land, to protect your people. Although we loved visitors, in 1492, there were 3 ships lost in the Caribbean, and we found them. We were at the front of the hurricane. Little did we know it was the beginning of the end for our people. The conquistadors came and they kidnapped our people, much like Lolita, Tokitae. And they put us on their ships and they took us to Spain, they took us to Europe to show the wonderful exotic creatures they found in the Caribbean. They put our people on the island in slavery, to dig up gold for them, to feed them. They took our women. They took away our spirituality. You had 3 choices: convert, or you had a choice of how you wanted to die. You could be chopped up into little pieces or burned alive. And our people were near destroyed. But in 1511, the caciques of all of the islands, the chiefs, got together and united in war against the Spaniards. But unfortunately, the firepower between the two was no match. And so while there was the Taino Wars, as they call them, they also started bringing the people up into the mountains on my island in Puerto Rico. If you look at the island, there's a mountain ridge. It's very dense. It goes across the spine. And my family is one of them who survived up in the mountain. And for that reason, I wear this line every day, because I know that my ancestors, some of the warriors, stayed behind to fight so that we could escape and survive today. And I honor them by saying that I am still here because of the sacrifice that you made for me. This is a song, it's the calling of my ancestors. So, everybody's welcome to join. My ancestors send you blessings because they appreciate what you're doing to preserve your heritage. I saw the videos of how you restored your longhouses. Beautiful, beautiful. I saw the videos of how you were teaching the children and restoring some of the older dances. Beautiful. We too are restoring our heritage, the Puerto Rican people. 60% of the Puerto Rican people today still have Taino blood. Unfortunately, many of those people are still asleep. And I think you people who follow Native ways, you know what I mean. They're asleep. And so our job is to wake them up, one person at a time, through presentations like this, through the drums, because the drums speak, speaking out the language of our ancestors. Because even though they can't understand our words, our language speaks to their hearts. And one of the things that I feel so grateful is to be part of the Puerto Rican Cultural Center. We're a 20-year-old organization, and we are teaching the children from little how important it is to respect nature, to love nature, embrace their indigenous ways. When you see a little 2-year-old coming into class and picking up the basket of maracas and handing them out, you know that you're making a difference. And so a song came to me from nature, and it was dedicated to the children. And they love singing it. And I'm going to teach it to you. You're going to sing along with me. And the words go, children are the protectors of the earth. They protect the water. They protect the land. They are the warriors of the tomorrow. Children love Agabe, the earth. And in its full form, it's an areito dance, and I call out the name of an animal in Taino, and they have to make the movements of the animal. They love it, and every week I bring another animal. But, okay, so you're going to learn how to sing with me. All right, let's start first with the song. So, in our tradition, it's call and response. The Tahina sings, and you repeat. Let's see. Let me get the right keys. I'll switch keys on you later. Wailiro atabe. Wailiro atabe. Awesome. Waili aluka. Waili aluka. Wailiro atabe. Wailiro atabe. Waili aluka. Waili aluka. Kabuka libagwa. Kabuka libagwa. Kabuka limona. Kabuka limona. Warinara lialuka. Warinara lialuka. Wailiro atabe. Wailiro atabe. Okay, get the maracas out. Awesome. My ancestors send you blessings on this journey because we know that your road is difficult. But like all Native peoples, we all have our roads, and they're not easy. But it makes a difference to the new generation. One by one, the children are watching. We see evidence of that in the bad way, of what's happening around the country. But we also see evidence of that in the good way with our children. And so we need to keep up the good work because the children are watching. I want to send you off with a final areito, with a lot of joy from all of our united joy from all of the people sitting here for your journey, and we'd like to see you. Tokitae. Okay, same rhythm. I know it's not going to be easy, but you've got the love of Austin, Texas behind you. Let's thank Alberto. I recruited him like 30 minutes before the event started. Thank you.
We are now going to have another presentation here from another member of the Lummi Nation, Carver Jewel James. Please welcome Jewel.
Gonna have my nephew and son stand with me. We started these totem pole journeys back when John was a year old and my son was waiting to be born. And the first year, year and a half, he actually painted on the Pentagon totem pole. So we did the totem poles all across the United States. We've donated them. Dr. Russo, who was hiding someplace, he usually coordinates the plans and raises the funds while we locate the log and we start doing the designing and carving. And we do all these stops. We've been in most of the states, singing songs, making speeches, showing off the art. And I always tell people that we're not the greatest artists, but we do a lot of political attention raising. We've worked with indigenous peoples throughout the United States and Canada for various environmental campaigns the past several years. And we put up totem poles at old soldiers' homes, cancer centers, public schools, boarding schools, public parks. We carve them, donate them. We try to create an awareness of our native beliefs. I actually, my background is political science, psychology, and law. And I've been an activist for the Lummi Nation for 41 years. Dr. Russo's been my colleague, partner in crime You know, when you dedicated that much, you end up being divorced 3 or 4 times. You know, so it becomes kind of part of your life story. And being as it may, we do a lot to try to encourage people to understand that you have a lot of power inside you. I brought this flute. This is a love flute, but I actually got a prayer flute through a dream. And I carried that flute around. I actually had it carved according to what the dream said. And everything in that dream manifested in the hills of San Diego at an International Indigenous Religious Freedom Conference that I was asked to attend. Up in the Pacific Northwest, 1,800 churches issued an apology in my name for having helped destroy Native American religious freedom. I was extremely active in helping secure the amendments to overcome some major impacts of Native American religious freedom, working with national elders. And I was really glad that the dream manifested. I did end up with the flute, and I carried it for a year, and I studied it, and I wanted to know what my prayer sounds like. And so in time, I learned what it sounded like. What's that prayer inside? We all have this prayer inside. Some people say a cry inside. This balance with this oneness. I worked with a group of national elders from a Native American country, and they would say that inside you is a sacred spot. And before you do any prayers or any ceremonies, you close your eyes and you calm down and you find that sacred spot. That's when you're fully participating in the ceremony itself. And so with those type of teachings, I come to appreciate the concepts and the cosmology of Indian country as we got into the deeper culture of it. My brother, my council member here, Fred Lane, we're painted people from the Pacific Northwest. We're a part of our traditional society, but we're the local indigenous. We're also Peyote people too. Really believe in the way of the Peyote church. I had the honor of working with the late Reuben Snake. He was head of Native American Church National and did a lot of great work for helping secure Native American religious freedom. Being as it may, I like to say that one time Lummi brought the late Dr. Emoto to Lummi. If you haven't, if you're not aware of his work, go to E-M-O-T-O, Emoto, on the power of water. And he proved in his life before he died that your thoughts can go right into her body, his body. You can project them into somebody's body. It'll hook to the water 3,000 miles away. Your thoughts, your good thoughts or your negative thoughts, and it will impact the water within. And so we know that, and we've always been taught as natives that our prayers, our good thoughts will go to those people. That's why we're taught, be careful. Be careful how you think. Be careful how you look at people. You could hurt them. Or if you challenge them, you don't know what power they have. They could impact you. And so these type of thoughts are important. That prayer flute, my late daughter, I lost my daughter when she was 19. Later on, I lost my son when he was 19. They and I were heading to breakfast one Saturday morning, and she almost knocked my flute over. I had it in the car, and I grabbed it really quick, and I scared her really bad. She goes, "God, Dad, I seen your flute. I wouldn't have broke it." And I said, "I'm sorry, but I just had the dream of how it's going to be broke." And so I told her how it's going to get broke. And everything in that dream happened later that afternoon, and she got to witness it. She broke down into tears, crying. She goes, "You always said you were a dreamer, but I never believed you. I'm sorry." She cried. And so that's how that flute got broke and put away. The thing is that we always have these opportunities to learn if you listen to your inner spirit. You're always being communicated to. My brother was talking about how that child in New York received messages, how a dreamer could pick it up. But we're raised in a world where we doubt. We doubt ourselves. We doubt that God's within. We doubt that there's a spiritual place within us. And we all know that we are sacred beings. Now that's what popular sovereignty is all about. That's why we, the people of the United States. I was active enough to work with the Iroquois Confederacy, where we got the United States Congress to recognize that America's form of constitutional government was founded upon the Iroquois and Choctaw prophecies. And so we got those resolutions to Congress, we got them to the Senate, you know, and it's because they had a sacred vision. They had a vision that was older than the country that came into being, and they were taught what this vision was all about. And so they talked about how it would spread around the world, that we the people would be spreading all around the world, and popular sovereignty would be all over. You know, and 168 nations in the world are following that vision today. You know, so we're all part of a larger vision. That's what we like to say. But I was going to, before I go on, I was going to just show you what the prayer sounds like, just a little bit. I play that is because I'm thinking now Tokitae, however you say her name, sings her family songs. She sings her family songs, she sings her clan songs, and she sings the community songs. You know, and we are so arrogant as human beings. We think we're all it. You know, and the Pope issued a encyclical Laudato Si in 2015, February, and he said, "We taught you that you have dominion over the earth, but we failed you. We failed to teach you that God created all things. All things are sacred. Keep God's creation sacred. Now it may be too late for us, because the world, you know, will go on. Mother Earth will survive, and Father Sky will survive without us. You know, and I'm sorry to say that we destroy everything. You know, we live in a world where it's herbicides, pesticides, fungicides, moldification, and preservatives. The only thing is not leaking is the formaldehyde in this room here is the glass, the brick. You know, I'm not sure about the cement, but it's got a plastic coating on it, so I'm pretty sure it is. You know, we live in a polluted world and we accept it. You know, and this is our attitude. We dominate, we destroy at will. Yeah. Our people have a cosmology. They have legends, myth, folklore, song, dance, ceremony, oral history. And we have a teaching that everything that's not a human came first. There were older brothers and sisters of creation. And the great changer came at the request of the Great Spirit and said, have the older brothers and sisters take a final form, no more shape-shifting. They have to come take a final form and give something to their little brothers and sisters coming behind them, because they're pitiful, they're weak, and they're going to need the big brothers and sisters to help them. That's us, the human beings. So everything gave us a gift. And we're so arrogant, we forget to remember when we put our feet on the floor, something dies for me today. Something dies for me today. When we lift our feet back off the floor, we forget to say, thank you for sacrificing yourself. And so we have other carvers in our community that get upset because we're always giving our art away. You know, it insults them somehow. You know, and we do it because our teaching is that the only way you truly are humble, the only way you can be really judged is by how much you give. And so you accumulate things only to give it away, to share it. And we also have the teachings that if you have a gift, you have to share it or it can be taken from you. I could have a stroke tomorrow, lose control of my arms or my legs, and not be able to practice this way of life again. So we try to make sure that it's not just us. I mean, on this totem pole, the youngest artist was 5 years old. And she started working with us when she was 2. She came out and helped paint pole. And my brother, he's 67, so now he's the oldest. But the oldest one we had working with us before was 84. And we try to make sure everybody participates a little bit because it's a we-ness. It's a we-ness. We can't do it without you. And we have had many campaigns where we ask the churches to come out, environmental groups, citizens groups, students. I mean, it seems like students are pretty passive on the campus compared to the 60s and 70s. We got scared off. The police are coming, the riot squad's coming. We need that activism. We need that student activism. And I could hear my colleague Kurt was saying you're calling for creation of El Centro de la Raza here. Well, El Centro de la Raza up in Seattle has been working with the native peoples for decades. And they have these beautiful tall towers that are full of people living there, as well as beautiful stores down below. They got a central courts, places to gather, conferences hall. And I remember Roberto Ballestas, back when he was still running around and doing all that work, trying to organize these people, pull them together, creating a vision. And so that was the first time I was he's gone now, but I was really surprised. What a modern facility that these people kept that vision alive. But they would gather and work with a native tribe. And that's what our campaign's about also, not only reaching out to places like El Centro de la Raza, but the church group. We've worked with several, almost all the denominations over the years. And we call upon our tribes, come out and work with us while we're on, Fred, who's going to be speaking a little bit, while he's traveling with us, his peers on the council will be meeting with the tribes of Oregon, Washington, Idaho, Montana, Southeast Alaska, and Northern California. And they will enact resolutions of support. I have absolutely no doubt. They will do it because we all think alike. It's a common goal. Bring that killer whale home. That's our directive. And we haven't lost a campaign yet that we've been assigned. No, we just keep plowing away. And they'll take it to our National Congress of American Indians. And before we're done, we'll have 565 Indian nations backing us up. Churches and citizen groups and environmental organizations. And so our opinion is for Sequarium, look, you could be the villain or you could be the hero. We don't care which way. Because there's a story coming out, there's a movie coming out. If you want to be the villain, we're happy to paint you as the villain you are. But it'd be nice if you do the right thing and release her. Let her retire. She's performed 2 days a week, 2 times a day for 48 years. And every night, she sings alone. She won't sing in front of humans. That nighttime song. She's singing for her mother and her grandmother. And so we really believe that with good heart, good mind, hard work, we can all do it. So we're asking you to go to sacredseed.org or any of the other ones, or Orca Network. Look them up, get to know the facts, and connect some people. Help get the word out. We can't do it without you. We know that. We can't do it alone. And so we will win. So we hope you're there with us when we celebrate. Thank you.
Thank you. And I want to thank you especially for all your work, the family of carvers. I cannot think of anything that represents colonial society and how it seeks to always control things than putting something like an orca inside of a small tank. And I can't think of anything that represents native culture and wanting to honor and relate to everything around it so much as carving an orca like you've done here with this totem pole. And I believe that we will win. Because when the rest of society sees that we can replace the one for the other, when you give as this gift, this beautiful creation, and this ability for everyone to connect with that spirit, they will no longer need that impulse to control and to dominate that creature. I think it's very wise that you're doing this. This is not a type of fight that we win. It's a type of healing that we all get. So I want to thank you for that. We have two more aspects of this presentation, and right now what we're going to do is we're going to have a small panel of some native leaders from here, from Texas. They're going to be sitting with some of the Lummi Nation folks. And part of this is to connect the struggles that are faced in the Pacific Northwest with those that are faced right here in the Gulf Coast and right here in Austin, Texas. So we have a few panelists that are going to come and join us here. We have Tribal Council member Fred Lane of the Lummi Nation, who's going to come and join us. We have an elder from East Austin, the founder of People Organize in Defense of the Earth and Her Resources. Susana Almanza is going to join us. And we have an elder of the Carrizo Comecrudo tribe of the Estocna people of South and West Texas, Jesse Mancias, who's going to join us as well. So please give a hand to our panelists as they make their way up here. Yeah, we want them to be comfy so they don't feel like they're on a hot seat. We're just going to start out. We're going to ask you to introduce yourself, say a little bit about the work that you do and your perspective as an Indigenous activist from the legacy of your work. You can just take a few minutes and introduce yourself. Susana, we'll go ahead and start with you.
Good afternoon. I'm Susana Renteria Almanza, and I'm a native of East Austin. Matter of fact, I just grew up a couple of blocks from here on 10th Street. So we used to always come here to Houston Tillotson to play around, and actually the cemetery was our playground too. A lot of people are scared, but to us that's the most sacred site, right? Well, I don't know, there were some evil spirits there though, but you know, we kind of worked around them. But I was very honored because I lived on that demarcation line that when I crossed the street, it was all African American. But when I went south, it was all Mexican American or Latino. And so I had the privilege to see and witness for myself the racism that existed in the city towards people because of the color of their skin, or because the language they spoke, and because of their incomes, because my parents were Spanish-speaking parents. And so that was one thing that was looked down because they spoke Spanish, but my mother was a healer, and my dad was a very humble man. Had no formal education, either one of them, but we taught them along the way. But one thing my dad always told me, he said, Susana, respect everyone. Always respect everyone. I don't care if they're black, brown, yellow, white, or green. And I say, Dad, there's no green people. And he said, just in case they come. So he was always preparing me to always look at the broader universe, right? And because, you know, we come from the earth, that's how we are. We're people of the earth, and we recognize all the elements, the air, the water, the sun. And because we recognize those elements, you know, we were looked at pagans, people who didn't know what they were doing or why they were honoring those elements. But we know today we can't live without any of those elements. we would perish if we didn't. And so that type of indigenous upbringing all around my neighborhood, all the people that I grew up with and all the things that I got to see as a very young child growing up, but more important, being taught by my very humble parents about don't take more than you need. And they very much taught me that there was a difference between need and want. If you want something, it's not really needed, you know, don't bother about it. The things that you need are the most important things. And so I'm very honored that I understood at a very young age that we're all related, right? That nature kind and humankind are interrelated, interwoven, and they cannot be separated. And so when we look at, you know, Lolita, we look at what's happening to her. I saw it very early on, and I told my children that I would not take them to the zoo because the animals were separated, were taken from their parents, their grandparents, and their home. Because I could see very young that when I got to see that, I heard them. They were crying. They were crying that they were being caged and they had been taken from very far away from their homes, whether it was Africa or India, all the different places. And I told my kids, you know, those animals are crying out to me. And I can't see any of us going to look at their pain and their misery. This is something that should not be happening to the animals because there are relations and we need to be together.
Oh.
And so we very much understand that. It's like what people say, it's in our DNA. It's deep within us. We know what's right and we know what's wrong. When she talked about the drum, we all have the drum, it's our heart. We all have the drum inside of us, but we have to listen to that drum because there's only one race, and that's the human race. There's different ethnicities and culture, but there's only one race, and that's the human race. And that human race is all the nature. All the animals, all the birds, all the trees, all the water, because water is sacred. And I think that's what Lolita too is trying to remind us, is the sacred waters. That we all have the right to be in those sacred waters. And you'll know when you see children of color, what do they want to do during the summer? They want to live in the water, in the pool. They want to be in the water because they understand that water and what it's all about. And I'll go to the next question. I better stop there because I could go on and on.
Perfect, thank you. We'll go to you, Jesse. Hello, my name is Jesse Mancias, and I want to first of all welcome the Lummi people to Texas, and we want to tell them that we stand in solidarity with the Lummi and all indigenous people. I am a Carrizo Comecrudo. In our language, it's Estokna. We are the people of the Texas Rio Grande Valley, from the Panhandle to San Antonio to the Valley to Texas. We have lived in this area for forever. We have been persecuted and killed, and we're still surviving. It's like my friend here said, that we are here and we will stay here. We're going nowhere. We are here. One of our biggest struggles, well, before I move on, I want to recognize two of our people. Peter Owen, who has been with me in every demonstration. We travel all across West Texas to Brownsville, to Dallas, to Houston, and we make our voices heard about the injustices. How, and my sister Adela Mancias, how this earth is being ravaged by greed. They are carving the land, scarring it, and they are excavating our ancestors. because there's money to be made. And the worst thing about this whole thing is that the government of the United States is supporting this crime. We have over 20 laws that have been suspended to allow this crime to continue. They're building a wall now to separate us. The people from across the border in Tamaulipas and Juarez and all those areas are the same people who we are. But they're separating us because some racist in Washington believes that we're importing criminals. The criminal is in Washington, D.C. I believe in healing. My grandmother, I was raised by my grandparents. My grandmother, Faustina Mancias, was a healer. She brought babies into the world. And I was raised in that environment. At the age of 18, I joined the Marine Corps. And I went to Vietnam. And my job was to kill people of brown skin. That's what I did. And it went against the grain of everything who I was, everything that I believed, everything that had made me who I was now being destroyed. I am now in a quest to make up for those injustices that I was part of. I just want to say that this journey that the Lummi people are in is my journey as well. We are all here together, and we will continue this fight.
Siamanas Jalacha. So hila quenis natacho tikai Siamanas Jalacha. So Caleb Sanasnat. I first and foremost want to thank the Creator for bringing us here together today. I also would like to thank all of our friends back at home with the Bellingham Unitarian Fellowship, from Lummi Nation, to our friends in Seattle, in the City of Roses, Portland, to our friends in Los Angeles and San Diego, and all the way here to the great state of Texas. Just want to thank each and every one of you, from the youngest to the oldest, for taking this breath of time to be here. I know we're a little bit over schedule, and I know agendas are meant to be broken, and sometimes we call that Indian time, and sometimes we have to let the Spirit take control and remember that we're not in control. And just as Uncle Doug mentioned earlier, you know, I often hear it from medicine people about how we have to start looking at ourselves as spiritual beings having the human experience. And we all know that life isn't easy, and for some of us, life has been really tough. And even for some of us, that we shouldn't even be here. And I say that to myself with all that's happening in the world, and when I was young, and surviving suicide, surviving the American Holocaust that we don't talk about. And you know, our history goes back a long we are survivors of the Great Flood, us Lummi people. Our stories go back before, when Moses gathered all the animals in his family and put them on the ark. That's how far back our history goes. In Sistlan Ato, we are standing here together. Sistlan Ato. is standing together with one another. And I just want to thank our relatives here. And I also have to thank our cameramen and our sound woman. You know, there are people behind the scenes all along the way. Our hosts, our relative that blessed the pole. Every gathering is different along this journey for Lolita is her Honitum name. Tokitae is a Chinook jargon. That's not a Lummi name, it's a Chinook jargon. And, you know, when she was 4 years old, she was, you know, some of you that have children or have grandchildren, or some of you may even have great-grandchildren or great-grandchildren. But she was stolen. She was taken from her mom and her dad when she was 4 years old. And I made the video that's 330 seconds long. It's called Totem. In my background, I'm a photographer by trade, and I do videos and do the documentaries. And believe it or not, that 330 seconds took me 46 hours to do. But I wanted something that was very powerful, something that was from the chief, and how he taught us that these are not creatures. These are not animals. These are not fish that swim in the sea. These are not mammals. These are not blackfish. These are not killer whales. These are the Kotomachtin. The Kotomachtin. These are the people that live under the water. And the chief reminded me, he says, before you go on, you remember that. Don't forget that. They are the people that live under the water. They're human beings. They're human beings. That's how we were taught. That's what our generation is learning to help share. And thank you for bringing out the elders chair. I don't know who said that. He mentioned the elders. I'm 49 and a half. I'll say that right now. And you know, I'm number 11 of 12 in my family. And I'm just really honored to be here with each and every one of you. And thank you for the songs. Thank you for the prayers. Thank you just for again taking just this moment of time. This is not about Lummi Nation. This is not about a little girl. This is about, like Sasya said, this is about freedom. This is about the rights of nature. This is about standing up and just having that little voice, you know, having that voice to say, you know what, I am somebody. I can do something. And I'm not saying that Dr. Russo and you know, that these are, you know, this is a campaign. And it's not, you know what, if it happens overnight, you know, blessed be the Great Spirit for bringing us together and uniting for Lolita. And I just had to finish saying on June 16th, there's a worldwide campaign. You could look them up online. United Until Lolita's Home. And they use the hashtag United, the letter 4, and then Lolita. United, hashtag United for Lolita. But there are people standing up in London, South Africa, New Zealand, Australia, Denmark, the United Kingdom, where of course, I don't know if you're watching it this morning, the big wedding, but they're standing up all over the world for our sister. It's our sister Lolita. And she knows she's gonna come home. And I hope Palace Entertainment is watching, because I know they watch my news feed. And I'm letting you know we are coming for Lolita. Whether you like it or not. Thank you.
So I just have a couple questions for the panelists. Before I do, I want to remind everyone that you can go to salishc.org and donate money for this campaign. I'm also going to pass this cup around here. Anyone wants to put in any cash, Rolexes, whatever you got. It's all going to go to the Lummi Nation and support this journey. So we're going to pass this cup around. I'm going to ask just a couple questions here. So one of them, I'm going to give a little bit of a backstory, but a couple of years ago, we found the largest gathering of natives in Texas at the Native Texas United March against the coal mine in Eagle Pass, Texas. This was in April of 2016, and around that time, we found that there was, we heard from our friends in the Pacific Northwest, there was also this huge gathering of natives up in the Pacific Northwest. And they were also resisting coal exports. And then we realized only a short time later that this is also the genesis of Standing Rock. It was happening at the exact same time. And we realized, wow, it's not us doing this. Something is happening through us and affecting all of our people. And we heard something at that time, water is life. Something that's very, very simple, and yet something that also reflects native cosmovision. And also in all of these fights, there was something that the colonial society was pushing, was this extraction and exporting and transportation of fossil fuels. So I want to ask you all about this. I want to ask you about both the movement of indigenous rights, indigenous sovereignty, and the spiritual nature about it, and how it's come up against the colonial society and its taking from the earth and the fossil fuel extraction that it's tied to. What have you seen in your own work that is that tells part of that story? You can start with whoever wants to go first.
Well, Tommy, you talk about that time, but in the late 1980s, in 87, what was happening throughout the whole United States and actually the world was the whole issue of environmental racism, environmental justice. So there was a movement that was happening where people said, enough with poisoning. There were, even though there were studies being done in 1987, the United Church of Christ did a study which showed all the major pollution were in communities of color. And here in Texas, we did a report on Texas, the impacts of polluting industries in Texas. But you could see this whether you were in the South with the Southwest Network, in the Southeast Network, the Indigenous Network, all of a sudden, all the networks of people of color and Indigenous people were coming together because they were looking at these issues of fossil fuel extraction, but looking at all types of polluting industry. Here in East Austin, we had 6 oil corporations: Exxon, Citgo, Chevron, Texaco, Gulf Coastal State. They were all in East Austin, not too far from here. And were emitting benzene, a known carcinogen, over 720 times over the allowable rate of exposure to humans, right? But the people were being exposed to all of these dangerous chemicals. And we organized and to educate people, because one thing that you can educate people is through health. Not through all the different numbers of what was going on, because sometimes that's an abstract on the chemicals, but what are the impacts on the chemicals on people, and the cancer and all the things, because cancer hurts families, it hurts communities, and it hurts society, it hurts everybody, and it doesn't end just by exposure, it continues and continues, maybe to the next generation and the next generation. But as we organized and kicked out the major oil corporations are out of our community, one of the things we had to see was looking at the alternatives to fossil fuel and the alternatives of what were happening. And again, the corporations and greed is always playing that part. But it wasn't just happening here, it was happening in San Antonio, it was happening in Houston, it was happening throughout the whole United States, because at that time, you know, as we're looking the 50s of the Industrial Revolution and what it brought, the harm and the greed that it brought to this country and other countries, right? Because it was all happening at the same time. So you began to see a big awareness. And again, you always see that cycle, you know, that cycle that we all believe, because we all have an indigenous drum, regardless of the ethnicity, y'all. All cultures had their indigenous drums. A lot of people have been separated from those things. But we had that realization of what was happening to Mother Earth, right? It wasn't just a planet, it was a living entity. It was Mother Earth. And bringing back that indigenous culture and that indigenous belief that we had to take care of Mother Earth, because as we said earlier, it's not Mother Earth that's going to go away. She's cleansed herself before, and she could do it again. We're the ones that are in danger, and what we're doing are in danger. And I think that realization came to hit people, not just here in Austin, and not just in Texas, but the United States and the world. It was the corporations and the greed that was happening worldwide as we see it now, coming back, right? And as we're pushing back on that greed that is coming into society. But I think that there's been a reawakening, and we see those cycles as they come. You know, they come and the greed is pushing. That greed is very powerful, but so are our indigenous beliefs and our indigenous prayers. They are just as powerful as anything else. And you know, whenever I feel there's something going, I pray every day and night, but I know sacred places, and I go to them when I need to get the power of the prayers to take on the challenges. Because people always say, well, how do you keep on going? How do you keep on going? Because I believe in the power of prayer, and I believe in the spirits that are out there. And if you take them in, you can keep on going. And to me, it's not a journey that everyone here or that the Lummi Nation is going. It's a quest. It's a quest to free Lolita. But I think it's more than that. It's a quest to free all the animals. That's the real quest. It's the quest that's gonna jump off. Now, you know, you're talking about the whales, but let's talk about the tigers, and let's talk about the lions, and let's talk about the monkeys, let's talk about giraffes, let's talk about the birds. You know, here locally, we just had a big fight in the Roy Guerrero, Colorado River Park, a 366-acre jewel, where they wanted to put a 20,000-seat stadium in a one road into this very sacred land, which is home to the red-tailed fox, you know, it's home to the deer, and it's home to all the birds and all the other little species that live there. And we had to fight to save that park, to keep it as much, because we're not the only people being displaced. People talk about displacement and gentrification, but also the animal world, the natural world is being displaced. And so we have to make sure we create a balance between nature and humanity. And that was a big fight that we had here. And a big fight that we're fighting now is a big land grab that is happening here in Austin, but more in East Austin. Because at one time, we had to buy back our land, right? It was stolen. 67% of Latinos own their land. We're down to about 25%. We're losing what we worked so hard to get back, that little piece of land that was something that we were the stewards of, and now losing that particular piece of land. That is a big fight that's called Code Next here in Austin, but more important in East Austin, because it is where people of color, low income, and the working class people live. And these are all struggles that are connected. When Connie talks about the fossil fuel, it's all about transportation. It's all about building the roads. It's all about building all of these things to our neighborhood because they want to make money, and it's all about greed. It really is. It's about greed.
And we know that it's about greed, but we have to push back and create that balance with our spirituality. We have to hold that balance. We have to hold that balance because we cannot let money win. Because at the end, you know, money can't be eaten. It really can't. It really can't. It really can't. And so we have to keep reminding them that they will not be able to eat that money to survive. But we need to keep a balance. Thank you.
I guess my response to the question was that how I came to be involved in this resistance was sitting in my couch and watching television and how all these things are happening and bitching and complaining about it. There, doing nothing. Silence is compliance. If we don't do anything, if we just sit there and watch the news and complain about it, we are just as guilty because we're not doing anything. It's up to us. My cousin Juan Mancias, the tribal chair, who regrets not being here because he's in Virginia doing exactly what we're doing here. He's in Virginia right now. And he called me and he asked that I come and sit in his place. Juan and I went to Standing Rock to support and fight what was happening. And there is where the passion grew in me, and I cannot stand still anymore. I cannot allow this crime to happen and go on and just watch it on television. And I know that passion is in this room. Every one of you is here because of that. Every one of you is here because you believe in resistance, in resisting this crime. I think that the people, and I think my sister over here called it, she said they're asleep. We need to wake them up. Our job is to wake up people and say, hey, look what's going on around you. Look what we're losing. Our four-leggeds, our winged, they're all dying because of greed, as you mentioned. So it's what we need to do. In South Texas, we saw the devastation of the land, how they're digging up and running these huge oil pipes, and we followed them. Peter and I drove up and down West Texas, taking pictures and seeing what was going on. And they're powerful. This fight that we're in right now is a difficult one. But our passion and our resistance is even more powerful than they are. And we've had several victory dances already. The Come Crudo have had several. We danced next to the wall in South Texas. We had a sweat in the Santa Ana Wild Refuge, and we had swarms of immigration officers just riding around, seeing if we would leave. We didn't. We stayed there the night. So it takes that kind of commitment. And I hope that today you join us in what needs to be done. We need action. And we hope that this journey with Lolita and our journey to save our waters, as they said in Standing Rock, water is life. We cannot live without it. Oil is a convenience. Water is life. Thank you.
I know we got Aztec dancers getting ready. I can hear them outside. I just wanna. One of my favorite movies. Because eventually, you know, someday I hope to be nominated for an Academy Award or some documentary or making an Indian movie about history. But one of my favorite movies is the fifth element. Anyone see it?
Yes.
So think about the fifth element. And the fifth element, for those of you who haven't seen it, go just watch it. It's because when I first seen it about 10, 12 years ago, I was like, what, fifth element, So I watched it. It's a sci-fi, but it's about when evil returns back to Earth. And so when you watch it and watch it again, it's talking about when evil returns in 300 years, then the aliens will come back and they will protect. And it reminds me of what we're going through right now. And who is the fifth element? You are. Because without earth, without the sacred earth and the dirt, without the sacred fire that we call the sun, or sometimes we turn on the propane and it heats our homes, without clean air, without clean water, when one of those elements, and some of you are parents, a lot of you are parents and grandparents and great-grandparents, and you have grandchildren, and if this doesn't wake you up, and don't think that you're too old to run for public office, you're too old to run for your state legislature or your state senate or your county council or your city council, then you know what? Let that spirit wake up in you. Because it's without us getting 5 friends, 10 friends to vote this November in future elections, because just as our elder shared this morning, this afternoon, just right before we started, in the Pledge of Allegiance, and who are we pledging to? Every single congressman, every single senator is what? Caught up in special interests. Look at those poor kids that died yesterday. In that lobby group, it doesn't pay taxes. My God, wake up. If we don't do something, if you haven't seen those kids from Parkland take on those Fox News contributors, and he took on that one woman and he says, I will give you 17 reasons. What was it? It was those sponsors that sponsored her show. So there is an awakening, and there is a sleeping monster, and you are all the fifth element, and it's up to us as human beings. When we know as indigenous people, Indians, we've been at war since the beginning of time. We have to admit that. We know that. But there was a time when we came and gathered in peace to fight, to gather ourselves and to hold on. Because you know what? Our elders knew that we were coming. Our elders, those that survived the Holocaust, when Hitler killed 6 million Jews, there were those ones that they knew that their grandchildren and their great-great-great-grandchildren were coming. They survived, just like we have survived. And we're here for a reason, every single one of us. It's not that we're running out of time. It's time to stand up and stand with one another. And we, Uncle Doug and Jewel and our family, our elders back at home and our veterans, Lolita, she doesn't have a voice. We're standing together. This is what these fights, to fight the coal mines, to fight the corporations, it's bringing communities together, because you need clean water for your grandchildren. You need clean air for your granddaughter. You need clean earth. We need to come together. And the way we do that is by waking up and standing Sitlan Ato, Sitlan Ato, that's how you say it in our language. Sitlan Ato, standing together. And with that, I just want to say, like my father used to say, just haishka to each and every one of you, from the youngest to the oldest. Just raise my hand, just with the highest respect, highest regards, and just continued blessings to you and your family and for all the generations to come. And thank you.
Okay, I have only one question left for each of you, and it's a simple one. It's about the future. Oftentimes we think about colonialism in the past, 500 years ago, the coming of Columbus, founding of this country, the genocide that's happened, the capturing of the animals, the taking over of oil and all of these things. We know that 500 years from now, that's not going to be the law of this land. It will return to the law of the Creator. And we have to be hopeful and fight for this future. We have to be able to see it. We have to be able to teach it to our children and teach them how to be able to see, so that they know that this better future is coming and they can realize it with their actions. So much of what people are taught now is that they have no power to either vision or create the future that they want. They're lied to by the greedy ones that we're talking about now. But while you're all here with us, I hope you would share one thing that you're hopeful for in the future, or something that you're looking forward to the most about the future, whether it's 500 years from now, 50 years from now, or 5 years from now. What is it that you're looking forward to and that you think all of us can look forward to sharing together?
You know, just that powerful hope. Some people think hope is real dangerous. I think sometimes hope, you hear that you're on your last hope. And hope is very powerful. And hope carries us into the future. Hope doesn't lie. Hope doesn't cheat. Hope doesn't tell you lies. Hope gives you something very powerful in each and every one of us, because we all have eyes to see, ears to hear, mouths to speak. And hope, if you don't stand up, if hope doesn't get you to stand up, if hope doesn't pick you off put you on your 2 feet, if hope doesn't inspire you to my mom always used to say this. I'm a Catholic. I'm a part-time Catholic now, but I'm a Catholic. I was baptized Catholic, and my mother always used to say to me, she says, "Son, Fred, if you had faith the size of a mustard seed, you can move mountains." Never did ever know or believe, see or understand, but sometimes that hope is that big. And I hope when Lolita comes home, that all of you that are here right now, that are witnessing, here and online and across the world, that you come and see what hope is for Lolita. Thank you.
I don't want to continue I think that I couldn't be more eloquent than you have been on hope. So I want to talk about action and what we need to do. The people that have been very active in this have been people from the Sierra Club. You, my friend, Becca, and Brian. Every time that we meet, they're there. They're at the point of the spear each and every time. And those are the people that we need to support, and we need to become leaders like they have been in this fight. This fight is just beginning. They haven't seen what a fight really is until we all motivate forward and move and do things. So I'm just saying in the next 5 years, 10 years, I think even before then, in the midterm elections, we need to show who we are in our force. We need to replace Ted Cruz. We need to replace all of those people with the folks that will represent our passion and our beliefs. Thank you.
He's very thankful too. Well, I just want to say that it is, when you lose hope, you lose everything, and we see it on the streets in our communities. The people who have lost hope. Hope is it's a sacred thing within our hearts, right? For me, because I knew that one day I would probably get really old, hopefully get to see my great-great-grandchildren, I don't know, but I had grandkids. So I did something that was real important to me that symbolized all the things, the elements. I named my children so that I wouldn't forget. My oldest son, his name is Vida Fuerte, because I want to always remember life. And I named my second child, my daughter, Corazon, because we all have to have that corazon, that love, right? And I named my other son, Che, because we have to have that revolution, that change that we're always having to do. And then my last born, I named him Librado, because that's what we want. We want freedom, we want liberation. And so that when I get older, if I get senile, I'll always say, hey, Vida, hey, Corazon, hey, Che, Librado. Okay, that's what my struggle was all about. That's what my struggle was all about. And not only that, in their middle name, I put Librado de Aztlán. Well, my Corazon was Corazon de Aztlán, our nation, our indigenous nation here in this continent. But when I got to my youngest son, the last one, I put Librado in Aztlán. I said, he's not, he's in it. He's in it. Because I personally am documenting our historical history and that our nation, we have a nation. The Mexicano, Mexica people, we have a nation that we came from, and we don't want to forget that. And I want to make sure I document it in history, right? Because it's in the birth records. You can never take it out. It's there. And so, to me, that's important for the next generation. Is that, to me, is name your children, your grandchildren, to mean something, right? To carry on that legend, that history, and that hope. Because to me, that's the real important part, is not to forget that. Not to forget that we come from the earth and we've got to protect the earth. Because if we protect the earth, we protect ourselves. And I'll close with this one indigenous saying. There was a time when we were all sisters and brothers. The night sky our ceiling, the earth our mother, our parents our leaders, and justice their guide. Omateo.
I want to thank each one of our panelists. I also want to thank everyone who came out from the Pacific Northwest, the Lummi Nation. I want to thank each and every one of you for coming out today. I want to thank all of our volunteers. And I want to thank Brian for doing the camera and Becca for doing the sound here. We're going to transition now into, there's going to be a danza outside, danza azteca. You're all welcome to watch. We still have some food out here. We have some guacamole, some fruit. We have some aguas frescas. You can get yourself a drink and enjoy each other's company. I want to mention also that there's sign-up sheets there if you want to get involved in Equilibrio, or we have upcoming Peace and Dignity Journey Run. You can learn more about that at the table there. Also, amongst yourselves, I want you to know that Becca here, who's doing the sound, is also leading the fight against 3 liquefied natural gas export facilities in Brownsville, Texas. And is the lead organizer who is doing international work to fight fracking. Brian, who's doing the camera, is a long-standing environmental justice advocate from Houston, Texas, and he is currently partnering with community members to build a just recovery from Hurricane Harvey and taking on polluters that were polluting during that storm. I also want to, people who may not know about what's happening in Alamo Plaza down in San Antonio, but Maria Torres here, who I mentioned at the beginning, she's one of the people leading the fight against the reimagining master plan that is desecrating hundreds of grave sites in central San Antonio. There's also I know many of you are doing wonderful work in the community. Please share it with each other. Please connect with each other. That's why we're all here. And all of our prayers are going to go to Tokitae for her release, for the Lummi Nation to be strong on their journeys, and for everything you do for all our relations and for the Creator.